How's it going? August 18th, 2017, 6:03 p.m. And we got another weekend in store. Um, yeah, usually I'm in a pretty good mood on a Friday, and I am, for the most part. Um, I did get a little bit of a sneak of a few other things that just really boil my mind. Uh, it's it's getting to the point where it's absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know what the outcome's going to be, honestly. I'm suspecting that this is all going to backfire. So we've got this interesting stuff going on. I'm just going to take you through. Let me see here. So I've got the live stream up now. Let me see if I can get this. Yeah, let me go through the history here. I'll just show you some of the videos that I have watched as of recently. So some some you got to take with a grain of salt. Others they have some substance to it. Um, this one's and I usually will share quite a bit. As you can see, most of what I've been viewing this week pertains to Charlottesville. And no, I wasn't there, and I'm looking at my wrestling stuff there for yesterday, but there was a lot within what we got here. CNN host cries over Trump blaming both sides. That's a real hoot, let me tell you. Of course, I check the economy, see what's happening with there, which I think a lot of this uh, has a lot. Basically, what really a lot of this has to do with this. As you can see there, Charlottesville, just the beginning. Looking at a little bit of Canadian news, a little bit of information on the wireless phones, but you can see Charlottesville has definitely been the hot topic. Now, if you're one who watches mainstream media, you are going to be fed a constant stream. In fact, they're pretty much going 24/7 coverage, and it's all the white supremacist fault. Or really, in basically that it's the white supremacist, but then it's all points to Donald Trump. In fact, we had another terror attack, which I haven't really looked into too much, and that's in Barcelona. I believe it was Barcelona. Don't quote me on that one. I apologize for not knowing all the facts and all the news of the day. Like I said, I don't watch the news. I don't read newspapers. I was one a long time ago. There was you for those of you old enough to remember, and he's still around and does his thing. Tony Robbins. He had something called Personal Power, which I purchased back. Oh, jeez. Seems like about 20 years ago because I think it was back then it was on cassette. I may still have it around someplace. And one of the things, because, he's all about staying positive, one of the things that will drive you down the most, because negativity sells, is reading news. And basically he said, if it's going to be, if it gets bad enough, somebody will tell you. Well, the thing is, often than not, it doesn't take long. You'll hear it from somebody, and you do. So you hear this thing because it's all over. We're so connected. Everything with the devices, which I'm trying to eliminate more of these devices. I'm certainly connected to the internet, and that will continue. But as far as my mobility, I could care less about. If I'm out and about, I don't want to be on a phone. I don't want to be texting. I don't, the only time I would ever consider is if I'm even when I'm on vacation. Like I was on vacation across Canada I wasn't interested in following any of the news. I wanted to get away from it. I was worn out by it, and not much changed. Um, other than up in Canada, there was some forest fires, so that but I found out about that, and then I'd end up watching some of the Canadian news or whatever, and um, whatever they would say locally, like just a few of the things, but it wasn't that much. I stayed away from the U.S. side of things, and the thing about the only time I actually heard anything was if I was in a Tim Hortons or something like that, or if I was in some kind of restaurant where they had a TV, or they had or actually one of the I think it was one of the passenger stations, and they had CNN on, and that was when all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, they're still bashing Trump. Yeah, what else is new? So everything's Trump's fault, and they had the audacity, this terror attack, and this is you don't even have to do research. All you have to do is use your memory. They think you're so stupid, and they do it so blindly, and they're so desperate, and they're so dying that what do they do? There was actually stories going up about that Charlottesville was that ISIS in the more recent attacks where basically they ran over everybody or whatever was a copycat attack to what worked in Charlottesville. So because of that, their theory is Donald Trump. Now this gets pointed back. Donald Trump, and I've heard people saying this in some of the media, and they've echoed it because it's a huge echo chamber. They just one thing gets it, and then other people they'll pick it up on it, and one commentator will pick it up, and one everybody's reading, everybody's listening to whatever feeds they get because they want to be informed and up to date on everything. So they just listen to their programming. No, they won't. They don't go on to YouTube. They don't have a life. They don't actually shut down the computer and go outside, or even if they're going to stay on the computer, go play video games or something like I do with my son quite a bit. No. They gotta tune in. They gotta tune in to the 24/7 coverage of breaking news. But here's how it was equated. They said, in essence, paraphrasing, that Donald Trump helped ISIS because of the copycat attack. And I'm like, okay, well, hold on a second here. First of all, that in itself is stupidity, even if you didn't think about London Bridge. Now remember that? How long ago was that? I mean, my memory gets bad once in a while. The London Bridge attack, you freaking morons. That was before Charlottesville. So did ISIS inspire this fool to go rushing through a crowd? And the other thing too is, well, no, before I jump on that. So who's copying attack of who? It doesn't take, I mean, how many movies are out there where somebody goes plowing through a crowd or shooting up people? All of a sudden, oh, it's a copycat attack. People can't think up these things. First of all, as Donald Trump said, and he was right, there's blame on both sides. You don't hear the other side in most of the media, though. And a lot of the alternative media lately, too, have been starting to dumb down. I've been noticing Artie has been getting a little slanted suddenly with their coverage. And it's kind of funny. It's actually kind of ironic in some of the stuff here. You'll see a video here that I looked at. This is a promotional video of RT, and this just went up this week. And it just tells them how, they ask more questions, and, they question more. And admittedly, they're better than CNN. There's certainly, there's certainly Russian influence in it, but, it's they're pretty good about they got U.S. Personalities, um, and they try to question more. They have some notable people, like Tyrell Ventura. Um, even if you're more to the liberal side, you know, Chris Hartman, was it? I can't think of his I can't think of his first name. No, Tom Hartman. I used to watch him a lot while I was still, and this is the thing, I would watch Tom Hartman while I was still more leaning liberal. I'm now more leaning conservative, but I hate those stupid I hate those stupid, well, you're liberal or you're conservative, or you know, you might be, you know, somewhere in between, or you're you know, progress. Like there's so many freaking labels, but they always treat it like it's linear. Like people have to be on one side of the spectrum or the other. I prefer to think of it as three-dimensional, just like the world is. We don't live in a 2D universe, we live in a 3D universe. We live in a universe that has a lot of grays. So what happened? And Lionel, he's great. Now I first saw him, apparently well-known personality. He's got some great videos. Um, and he'll just talk your ear off. Like he's worse than me. And he's hilarious to listen to, and he'll pick apart what's happening very very well. Milo, he's awesome. This interview was great between Milo and Alex Jones. Awesome. I mean, they're very much alike, and well, I shouldn't say they're quite a bit of difference, and but they're there's so much similarities you wouldn't think. Um, so, oh yeah, my daughter was not a victim, says mother of woman killed in Charlottesville. Well, hey, you didn't see that in the media, did you? It's true. Some media sources picked it up, but it was generally local. Um, Basically saying that you know, this whole thing. She actually in this uh, thanked Donald Trump for his response and his you know, blaming both sides, because she felt that it was indeed both sides. But again, it's gray area. They don't want you to have gray area. They want you to be Republican or Democrat. They want you to be on side A or side B. They want everybody against each other. You start going into a gray area, oh no, there can't be a gray area. Oh hell no. The world is made up so many freaking shades of gray, and there's so many ways to skin a cat. You got to be kidding yourself if you think that. I like Greg Hunter. I just watched his video. Um, like myself, he agrees with what Donald Trump was saying. Um, he agrees with his stance. He agrees that there's nothing that he has, you know, how many times has he disavowed David Duke? I mean, give me a break. But they keep bringing it up. And this whole thing about, you know, he's a Nazi, he's a Nazi. All you have to do is look over the 30 years of video on Donald Trump. I mean, they can't find anything on this guy except, you know, some conversation about grabbing pussy. I mean, is that the best they can do for him? They can't find any dirt on him. They just can't. I don't know. You know, I thought for sure they would have found dirt by now, but nope. They haven't found nothing on him. Except, well, I mean, you know, some on the Republican side will say, well, yeah, well, he used to be Democrat, and he was. And you know, he used to, just like myself, actually. I was well, I've been all over the place. I've voted on multiple sides. I'm a Canadian, so we don't have Democrat and Republicans. I voted New Democrat, which is pretty getting close to communism or socialism. Um, I voted for the Progressive Conservatives, which is basically a lighter form of the Republican Party in the States. Um, so I've never voted the Liberal Party. Liberal Party in Canada is like the middle of the road right now. Now it never used to be. They used to be the left. I shouldn't say that because there was always well, for the most part, but that was they had two parties, and then there was always, and then they got the Green Party, which kind of like there's a Green Party with the states and really doesn't mean much, to be honest. They're fairly irrelevant. They can't break ground. But this whole thing with grace, they don't want you with the shades of gray. So that's why it was never good enough. If he didn't name and then eventually he did start naming organizations on the right, or the right side, I guess you would call it, versus the left. He started naming, like how he disavowed KKK, which, by the way, the KKK are dead. Give me a break. They're not around. They're dead. Is there white nationalists or white supremacists? Sure, there is. Were there a bunch? Do you think they were all racist? Do you think they were all white supremacists? I saw a video where they were chanting, "You can't replace us." Okay. I don't see anything wrong with it. First of all, free speech is one thing. Now, they definitely were carrying weapons and they were going into what I would call a bad neighborhood, despite the fact that it was Democrat and, peaceful and all that other crap. For them, it would be a bad neighborhood. They were asking for trouble. And this crap about the Robert E. Lee, statues, nobody gives a damn about the statues. But the problem is what it represents. It represents history. It represents symbolism. Talk about symbolism, because they were carrying torches immediately. Immediately. The thing everybody reported, well, it was just like the Ku Klux Klan with their torches and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. Say what you want about the idiots of the Ku Klux Klan, but if they were saying stupid stuff, as long as they weren't hurting anybody, as long as they weren't attacking anybody, as long as they weren't doing anything, if that was a demonstration that they put on, and a lot of times it was, and I'm not saying that it was always peaceful, because it wasn't with the Klan. Just like if you think Black Lives Matter is a peaceful organization, you're not paying attention, or you're paying attention too much to the TV and you're not digging in deep enough. Watch some of the videos. Actually, go to Artie. Artie's right now. If you need to go in just softly, and you're on the left, more of the left side, and you need to go in, watch this video by Artie. White nationalists and counter protesters clash in Charlottesville. Now, notice Artie doesn't name who these are. It's Antifa. It's Black Lives Matter. But I guess you can't say all this. Now, this guy was one of the white nationalists, I guess, and they had helmets. They were ready. They figured they were going to be attacked, and they had shields and all that other stuff. This was the day after, from that original night march as well. And they did have a permit. Originally, it was revoked, and they got a court order, got it back. So they were able to do their march up to the statue, doing their little chanting, all that other stuff, in pretty much a democratic city. So, okay. So they did their thing. The problem was they were organized by somebody who is 2 years ago was an Obama supporter and a known shit disturber, basically. And, I don't know if he called gut stupidity. I mean, he tried to do a press conference and walk through the mob and all this other stuff the next day, and was getting shoved around and now, mind you, he hasn't done it. He's just stirring the pot. But he says that this wasn't this and that. Over on the other side where you got Black Lives Matter, there was a Craigslist ad. There's a Craigslist ad out for $25 an hour for basically people to come to help support the protesters. So it was to support protesters. If you believed in the cause, you could get paid. If you believed, in this, that, blah blah blah, whatever it was to make you feel as though you were part of something special and a worthwhile cause, they would pay you $25 an hour to do it. That's George Soros' money, by the way. If you don't know who George Soros is, you're really not paying attention, and you need to find out. Because there are people who are trying to stir the pot on both sides. There are people who want to stir the pot, who feel they want to. There's people that want to stir the pot because they have a lot of hate in them. I would say on the right, these white supremacists, they have a lot of hate in them. There's also those that are against the Jews, who say the Jews are causing everything and blah blah blah, or Israel and all this other garbage. I haven't seen any evidence of a lot of stuff. There are certainly Zionists, and a lot of Jews are Zionists, and there's a lot of Zionists who aren't Jews, and there's a lot of Jews who aren't Zionist. So really, that don't matter. It doesn't apply. And what the government of Jerusalem is doing does not represent what the people of what the government of Israel is doing does not represent what Israelis or Jewish people feel or do necessarily. Just like in the United States, especially in the United States, because you got pretty much a 50-50 split right now. Now some will say, well, yeah, but Donald Trump was down to 35%. Well, okay, it depends on what polls you believe in. Remember how the polls worked before, where they said Hillary Clinton was going to win in a landslide? Well, guess what? That didn't happen. Don't believe the polls. There's a lot of people right now on the right who are fearful. A lot of whites are fearful. There's been a lot of violence against whites. Yes, there has been violence against blacks. Yes, there has been violence. There's been police brutality. There has been incidents where police have done things that they shouldn't have. You talk about Charlottesville, Virginia. The police were told to step down. They didn't do much there. Heck, they just, they were there to basically watch what these white nationalists were going to do, and then suddenly they decided to have them step down when suddenly it was all going to be against them and there, and it's just like, okay, well now let's just step down, and let them fight. They want somewhere on the higher up wanted this to happen. They wanted this incident to happen because now they want, and it's all about pinning this on Donald Trump. It's all about, there's a lot of factors involved. I think it's about pinning this on Donald Trump to try to go after. Notice the Russian collusion story all of a sudden disappeared. The nothing burger, like this idiot over here. Where is he? The guy has been was crying or something. This guy, this idiot, Van Jones. And no, I'm not saying it because he's black, okay? This guy's on the record of saying the whole Russia thing is a nothing burger, as he was videotaped in CNN headquarters of Project Veritas not too long ago. But now he's crying over Trump blaming both sides. Boo-hoo. What's Trump else supposed to do? And now you got all these CEOs, Apple, they're pulling out, and whoever else, and it's like, okay, that's nice. The big issue along a lot of what's going on is resources. This isn't about race. Yes, it's making it sound like, oh yeah, about the racist in America. Most people aren't racist, okay? I and most people aren't after like not. I'm not talking about racist, but I guess the term could be used for um what is Islamophobic or worried about different cultures or some stupid thing like that. I'm against most immigration of any form right now because I think there's not enough jobs for in the states. I don't think there's not enough jobs in the states, Canada, you name it. There's a lot of places there should not be immigration going on. Period. I don't care what immigration from where. There was once upon a time where you needed workers. Workers are not needed. They got they're taking jobs and they're getting rid of them because they don't need that many people anymore. They need some skilled labor, yes. Manual labor or unskilled labor, forget about it. If you got a job, you know, and you're happy or you're at least content, I mean, for me personally, I really like my job. It took me 10 years to get to where I'm at. I had to struggle. I had to go through massive commutes. I had to go through people telling me, what the hell you doing, and basically uh, making it sound like I was lazy at work and all this other stuff because I physically couldn't pick enough products out of a warehouse fast enough for them and all this stuff. And then I had to drive home at night and I was tired. I mean, you know, I'm very content where I'm working right now. So I'm very happy. I consider myself very fortunate. Part of my job I get to go to the States every day from Canada. And I get to go into the States and do a pickup for machinery parts because we basically import parts from the United States and we ship to Canadian customers in the East. Ship machines. I help with logistics. I do help book freight for them. So it's a very enjoyable job. In part of that journey, I get to see some interesting difference of cultures. I actually get to see both right and left as I'm going, because one of my first stops is basically a bunch of Trump supporters. And and the funny thing is, here's the thing, okay? They're not necessarily the most friendliest people, I guess. They don't talk too much to you. They just kind of do their own thing. But they're Trump supporters and they don't have to be friendly. And I know a lot of Trump supporters who are very friendly. It just doesn't happen to be this way. So again, it's not about right and left all the time. So what? I drive down to the next place and they have a TV on and it's either got CNN or MSNBC all day. And there's a black gentleman that works there. I see him every day. I haven't heard him say too much this week. He seems like he's in a normal mood as regular. He has his CNN and MSNBC. Very nice to me. I mean, it's part of the job for him to be nice to his customers, regardless of who they are. But very nice to me. He works with white people. He works with black people. There's no issues. I go through a section of town where there's a lot of black people in it. I don't, as far as I can tell, I don't get dirty looks. This is Niagara Falls, New York. I don't see any tension, at least right now. What I fear is if this crap keeps going, this is when people are going to start fearing each other. There's already people who, fearful of being supportive of Donald Trump because there's been known incidents where just because you support a president who was elected by half of the country, yeah, okay, and get onto this whole thing. Well, which it wasn't the popular vote, and Hillary won a little bit more, and all this other garbage and whatever. By the process they have in place, he won. So whether or not it was, 49, whatever the heck percentage it is, he won in how they have their rules set up for their constitutional republic. He won. Did he steal? Did he? Was it a runaway? Did he steal? No. He won. They underestimated him, and they're freaking out now. But you got these supporters for Trump, and you got these supporters, and you can't wear a "Make America Great" hat. You wear one of those hats. I mean, it's one thing for me to drive down as a white person and just drive through, a street with, maybe, a lot of, inner city, or, there's a lot of blacks around. I mean, there's a lot of there's enough white people too. It's not like it just happens. That's just the way the demographics usually work, unfortunately. But and you find this in a lot of cities. You say, well, that's because of racism. That's because they're holding the black guy down. All this stuff. I won't even get into that. First of all, there's black people who have a lot of jobs and a lot of positions, who've worked longer than I have, who doing good for themselves, who are leaders, who are obviously journalists. I mean, there's a lot of people who do just fine, regardless of their skin color, regardless of their gender. They just try to pitch you against one another. And I think the real reason why this is going on, and I was going to get to that, but I'm going to get going in a few minutes. The real reason why this is going on has to do with resources in the economy. This economy, I'm telling you right now, I don't care what Wall Street's doing. They had a bad day yesterday. This economy is not healthy. I don't care what the stock market is doing. It's going down. Something's going down at some point. It's got to eventually go, and anything can set it off. Just like Charlottesville, anything could have set that off. It was a storm just waiting to happen. You got house prices way overvalued. You've got the bond market. You've got massive debt. And the employment is not as good as you think it is either. Just because some jobs are coming back and all that other stuff, there's been so many jobs that have been lost. And some of it has to do with automation. Some of it has to do with changing economy, changing services. A lot of it has to do with companies mergers and acquisitions. There's all kinds of garbage going on that's causing a lot of stress, and the system can't take it. And no, it's not because of capitalism. That you can point to certain things. I don't know everything out there. There's so many things that I don't know. But what I would encourage you to do is start looking around. You can start with YouTube. You can also go here. You can do Google searches. Whatever leads you to different things. The reason why stuff like InfoWars is a good one. Now like, InfoWars, Alex Jones. Okay. That'll lead you to guys like this. That'll lead you to this guy, who look at his magazine cover, Divided States of America. This guy is really good with trends. I would still subscribe to him if I wasn't trying to save so much money right now that I decided not to continue the membership with him. But I was a subscriber of his. I'd get trends. I would get trends every night. Trends in the news every night, 5 nights a week, Monday to Friday. You'll see him on YouTube. It was because of Alex Jones that led me to these things. Max Kaiser, Artie, Lionel, Stefan Molyneux, all of these guys that you see on YouTube, a lot of times what happens is I get into their channels. So then I start looking. And it's not all conservative. It's very important. This guy right here, Dave Rubin, he is a real liberal. He's not this nutso liberal on the left. He's also gay too, if that means anything. I don't know. He had the reason why I got into listening to him was I felt he was very fair. I don't watch him enough. There's only so much time I have, but there's somebody right there who is a classical liberal, not this whatever the hell this communist type liberal is now that's come out. You find these guys, and he talks sense. He knows it's a witch hunt for Trump. Everybody knows Trump is not perfect. It has nothing to do with it. Trump's a hell of a lot better than a lot of the other presidents in the last little while. I'll tell you that much. But you know, there's all these people that I subscribe to, be it entertainment, games, whatever. All you have to do, and the reason why stuff like this, and then you can read the articles. There we go, Charlottesville, everything, various other articles that he's done. You start going into that, you know, and there's me at the top there, but you start going in to Ron Paul. This guy should have been president. That was stolen from him, from the Republicans. Great guy. I like him, you know, so much, and he had a lot of support. But anyways, you start going into this stuff, and then it leads you. And the cool thing about this, unlike the TV, the only thing I watch on TV right now is wrestling. I'm trying desperately to get rid of it. If I can only convince my son, who I convinced 2 years ago, not convinced, but started showing him what wrestling was all about. If I could only take that back now, I would have already got rid of my TV. Because unlike programming, I can speed up. I can have all these. If I'm short on time, I can speed up their voice. They'll sound like Mickey Mouse. They'll go twice, just like you guys can do with me. You can speed up my voice, make me sound like Mickey Mouse if you don't have time, or if I'm speaking too much. Or you can pause and you can watch later, just like a DVR. You can skip different sections, see what I'm talking about here, see what I'm talking about there. If you don't like what I'm saying, you just shut me right off. It's that simple. Then go on to something else that interests you. But this isn't programming. This is you deciding what you want. That's what's so great about the internet. And mainstream media is dead, and they know it. And they're trying desperately to get as much attention and ratings as they can, because they know they're dead. They're a dinosaur. And places like InfoWars, despite what they're trying to do and censor YouTube and all the other garbage that they're trying to do, and they're gonna do just fine because they still have the support of the people. And Donald Trump, I got news for you. Mark my words. Unless they really pull off some major coup on him, he will be reelected. Because one thing about the left right now, they don't have any ideas. All they have is attack, 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 attack. And it's unjustified attacks. They have no ideas to make things better. Nothing. I don't see any ideas coming from the left. All I see is attack, attack, attack. Cause more crap. Make more stupid conspiracy theories about stuff that's not real, like Russia and all this other stuff. They don't have any ideas. The president was elected on ideas, and he's being stalled on every possibility by both the left and his own party. So, anyways, that's all I got for now. So I might be back on the weekend for you guys who are enjoying our stuff with the train stuff, and I'll get back to some of that this weekend, maybe with some programming. For those of you who've never programmed before, I'll get into some of that possibly on the weekend. We'll see if my son's interested in doing that, if not later on the weekend. So have a good weekend, guys. Take care.